Most people build AI workflows like a messy group chat. One agent writes, one agent researches, one agent checks the output. Another agent gets asked the same question again because nobody is actually in charge. The orchestrator pattern fixes that. It gives you one controlling agent that understands the goal, breaks the work apart, assigns specialist agents, checks their output, and decides what happens next. The problem is not that your agents are weak. The problem is that your system has no command structure. A single agent can do useful work, but it quickly becomes overloaded. It has to plan, research, write, validate, remember context, handle exceptions, and still produce something clean. That is too much responsibility inside one loop. So the output gets shallow, the reasoning gets messy, the workflow becomes hard to repeat. You do not have an intelligence problem. You have an architecture problem. The top technical operators do not think in prompts. They think in systems. A prompt is a request. A workflow is a repeatable machine. An orchestrator turns scattered model calls into a structured operating layer. It does not need to be dramatic. It can be simple. One agent owns the objective. One agent gathers information. One agent executes. One agent reviews. And the orchestrator decides whether the work is done. That structure changes everything because it separates thinking from doing. And when you separate thinking from doing, you can improve each part independently. The first move is accountability. One agent must own the final outcome. Not every task, not every detail. The outcome. This agent is the orchestrator. It reads the goal, defines the success criteria, chooses the next step, and keeps the workflow from drifting. Without this role, agents behave like smart contractors with no project manager. They may produce good fragments, but the system cannot reliably ship. The orchestrator asks the basic questions. What are we trying to produce? What evidence proves it is complete? Which specialist should handle the next piece? What needs to be checked before this leaves the system? That is not bureaucracy. That is control. The second move is specialization. Do not ask one agent to be the researcher, architect, builder, editor, tester, and critic in the same breath. Split the work by function. A research agent collects facts and constraints. A planning agent designs the route. A builder agent creates the artifact. A reviewer agent tries to break it. A formatter agent cleans the final output. Each role has a narrower job, so each role can be sharper. This also makes failures easier to diagnose. If the research is weak, fix the research agent. If the execution is sloppy, fix the builder. If the final output misses the brief, improve the orchestrator's acceptance checks. You stop guessing where the workflow failed. You can inspect the system. The third move is structured state. Most bad agent workflows pass vibes. They pass long chat history, loose instructions, and hidden assumptions. The next agent receives a foggy version of what happened before. That creates drift. A better orchestrator passes state. What is the goal? What has been decided? What constraints matter? What files, facts, or outputs are trusted? What is still unresolved? This does not need to be complex. A clean task brief is enough. A checklist is enough. A compact memory block is enough. The point is that each specialist should receive the minimum context required to do the job well, not the entire conversation, not a pile of noise, a controlled handoff. The fourth move is quality gates. An orchestrator should not simply collect output and pass it forward. It should inspect. Does this answer the original brief? Are there claims without support? Are there missing edge cases? Does the output create risk? Is the format correct? Is it actually usable? A gate is a decision point. Proceed, revise, escalate, or stop. This is where orchestration becomes leverage, because the system starts catching defects before the user does. The review step cannot be vague. Make it better is not a gate. Check for unsupported claims, missing constraints, format violations, and incomplete implementation is a gate. Precision matters. The orchestrator is not just a traffic controller, it is the quality owner. The fifth move is human altitude. Bad automation either asks the human too often or hides too much. The orchestrator pattern gives you a middle layer. The human sets intent, constraints, and approval thresholds. The orchestrator handles routing, retries, and internal review. Specialist agents handle execution. That keeps the human out of low-value friction, but still in control of meaningful decisions. You should not need to approve every micro-step, but you should approve strategy, risk, spend, publishing, deployment, or anything that affects trust. That is the line. The orchestrator reduces cognitive load without removing judgment. And that is the difference between automation and abdication. The sixth move is recovery. Every real workflow fails. A source is missing. A task is ambiguous. A specialist returns weak output. A dependency changes. The context is incomplete. If your system cannot recover, it is not an agentic workflow. It is just a fragile script with a smarter interface. The orchestrator needs fallback behavior. Ask for clarification when the missing input is critical. Retry with a narrower brief when the output is weak. Route to a reviewer when confidence drops. Stop when the risk is too high. The important part is that failure becomes a design state, not a surprise, not a silent hallucination, a controlled branch. The payoff is not that agents become magical. The payoff is that work becomes modular. You can swap specialists, improve prompts, add checks, reuse workflows, compare outputs, audit decisions, build a library of repeatable systems. That is digital leverage, not random acceleration, not endless prompting. Leverage is when a workflow produces better results because the structure around the intelligence is better. The orchestrator pattern also forces discipline. It makes you define success before execution. It makes you separate roles. It makes you treat context like an asset. It makes quality control part of the system, not an afterthought. That is how technical creators move from clever demos to durable workflows. If you want to build this, start small. Use 5 layers. 1. Intake. Capture the goal, constraints, and definition of done. 2. Planning. Break the work into tasks and choose the right specialist for each one. 3. Execution. Let narrow agents do narrow jobs. 4. Review. Check the output against explicit gates. 5. Delivery. Package the final result in the format the user actually needs. That is the skeleton. Do not start with complexity. Start with one repeatable workflow you already do often. Content research, SaaS feature planning, data analysis, customer support triage, internal reporting. Any workflow with repeated steps and quality risk can use this pattern. The win is not more agents. The win is clearer control. At the start, the mess looked like intelligence scattered everywhere. The fix was not to add more noise. The fix was one orchestrator, one agent that understands the goal, routes the work, passes clean state, applies gates, manages recovery, and knows when the job is done. That is the takeaway. If you want stronger AI workflows, stop asking one model to do everything. Engineer the system around it. Subscribe to Mind Games Labs for more breakdowns on data, AI, and digital leverage. And for the deeper ecosystem behind this channel, go to ecd.com.au.